Welcome to my channel. Have you ever felt like the whole world was against you? Like every step forward just leads to another setback? What if I told you that you can still win, without applause, without help, and even when no one believes in you? Sounds impossible, right? But today, I've got a real story that'll change the way you see failure, doubt, and yourself. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you won't just be motivated, you'll be unstoppable. So grab a snack, turn up the volume, and let's dive into how to win even when the world is against you. There was a time in my life when I felt like the entire world had turned its back on me. Every effort I made was met with failure, rejection, or silence. I wasn't just struggling, I was drowning in self-doubt and disappointment. It seemed like no matter what I tried, someone was always ready to criticize, belittle, or question my abilities. I had dreams, ambitions, and goals, but the world around me made me feel like I wasn't worthy of them. People I trusted walked away. Friends disappeared when things got hard. Even family members began to speak to me with condescension, as if I had become a burden they didn't know how to carry. The weight of their judgment crushed me more than any mistake I had made. I remember lying awake at night wondering what I had done to deserve this level of isolation. It felt like life was a game designed for others to win and for me to observe from the sidelines. I started questioning my purpose. What was the point of continuing if everything I did led to another dead end? I felt like shouting into the void, but even that felt pointless. I had no one cheering for me, no safety net, no plan B. My bank account was empty. My confidence was even emptier. I was stuck between who I used to be and who I desperately wanted to become. It was in one of those darkest nights that a small, rebellious thought whispered in my mind. What if I decided to win anyway? What if I stopped waiting for validation and gave myself permission to believe? That thought didn't fix everything overnight, but it planted a seed. A decision to try one more time, not for them, but for me. I woke up the next day and started doing small things that made me feel strong again. I set a schedule. I made my bed. I wrote down 10 reasons why I could still make it. I stopped scrolling social media and started reading books about people who overcame more than I was facing. I found stories of individuals who had been through homelessness, trauma, loss, and despair, yet somehow found a way forward. They weren't superhuman. They were simply people who refused to quit when the world told them to. That's when I realized the world wasn't going to give me a path. I had to carve one out myself. I began waking up earlier, using the quiet hours to focus on my growth. I wrote affirmations, practiced gratitude, and forced myself to see progress, even when it was tiny. I stopped waiting for motivation and started building discipline. Motivation fades, but discipline stays. I started keeping promises to myself. Go for a walk. Drink water. Apply for one job. Read one chapter. Each action was a brick in the foundation of my comeback. I had no audience, no applause, and no recognition. But I kept going. I realized that if I could keep moving forward while the world was against me, I'd become unstoppable when it finally wasn't. And that's where my true strength began to grow. As I pushed forward, I began to understand something crucial. The world wasn't obligated to support me. It wasn't required to be fair, easy, or even kind. And once I accepted that, I stopped wasting time feeling sorry for myself. I redirected that energy into building myself from the ground up. Every day became a personal test. Could I improve by just 1% today? Could I do one thing my future self would thank me for? Slowly, I built systems to survive the chaos around me. I created morning routines that grounded me, evening habits that helped me reflect, and goals that were specific, measurable, and just slightly out of reach. I understood that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure. And pressure was something I had in abundance. I stopped running from it and started using it. Every negative comment became fuel. Every failure became a lesson. Every no became a redirection. I started seeing myself not as a victim, but as a fighter. Life wasn't testing me to break me. It was testing me to prepare me. I began to develop mental toughness. That meant doing what needed to be done even when I didn't feel like it. It meant choosing discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and vision over doubt. I stopped sharing my goals with people who didn't understand. Not everyone is meant to clap for you. Some are meant to doubt you, so you learn to clap for yourself. I stopped chasing people's approval and started chasing my own standards. I wrote down a mission for my life: to become the person I needed when I was at my lowest. That meant showing up every day as someone who could face resistance and still move forward. I began focusing on character, not just success. Integrity, honesty, resilience, and grit became more important than likes or attention. And as my mindset shifted, my world started to change. Not because the world got easier, but because I got stronger. I no longer needed things to go my way to keep going. I had become someone who could handle setbacks with grace. I faced rejection with understanding. I knew I was building something bigger than temporary praise. I was building legacy. And that kind of greatness doesn't require permission. It demands consistency, humility, and perseverance. I began mentoring others who were going through the same battles I once faced. I shared what I had learned, not because I had all the answers, but because I had survived the questions. I taught others to take the pain they carried and turn it into power. I showed them that when you have nothing, you still have yourself, and sometimes that's enough. I became living proof that you don't need a perfect start to reach a powerful finish. You just need the decision to keep showing up, no matter who is watching or who is doubting. That's how I began to win, quietly, consistently, and against all odds. In time, I noticed that the victories began to build. They weren't massive at first, but they were steady. A callback from a job interview. A message from someone who was inspired by my story. A project completed without quitting halfway through. These moments felt small to others, but they were monumental to me, because they represented everything I had built through adversity: discipline, patience, and unshakable belief. I had learned to trust my own process, to find peace in progress, even when the outcome wasn't instant. The more I grew, the less I needed validation. I stopped over-explaining my journey. I realized that people only understand from their level of awareness, and that's not my responsibility. What mattered was staying aligned with my purpose. I became more selective with my time and energy. I protected my peace like it was my greatest asset, because it was. When the world is against you, chaos tries to live in your mind. But I evicted it. I filled my thoughts with possibility, hope, and relentless determination. I no longer gave space to doubt. I outworked it, outlasted it, and outgrew it. I learned that the true victory is not in the applause, but in the quiet moments where you keep going when no one would blame you for quitting. That's where champions are made. I built systems that reinforce my goals: vision boards, accountability journals, weekly reviews. I stopped winging life and started designing it. Every area of my life became intentional: health, finances, mindset, and relationships. I removed anything that didn't align, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You can't build a mansion with bricks meant for someone else's foundation. I needed to build my own life with my own bricks, no matter how heavy. I embraced being misunderstood. I stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. I knew I was becoming someone rare, and rare is often ridiculed before it's respected. My resilience became my brand. People began to ask how I stayed consistent, how I didn't let the negativity consume me. I told them the truth. I stopped needing the world to believe in me. I believed in myself so deeply that the world eventually had no choice but to notice. That's how it works. The world may doubt you in the beginning, but if you keep showing up, keep growing, and keep giving your best, it eventually has to respect your results. Winning isn't about beating others. It's about becoming so grounded in who you are that the world's noise can't shake your focus. And that's what I had become: unshakable. Looking back now, I understand why the world felt like it was against me. It wasn't personal. It was preparation. The resistance wasn't there to destroy me. It was there to develop me. Every trial was sharpening skills I didn't even know I had. Every delay was protecting me from premature success. Every betrayal was a redirection towards self-trust. And now, I'm no longer bitter. I'm better, because I earned every step. I didn't inherit confidence. I built it from brokenness. I didn't borrow belief. I forged it in solitude. I didn't fake strength. I developed it through struggle. That's what winning really is. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's quiet endurance, day after day, when no one claps and no one cares. It's choosing growth over comfort, vision over distractions, faith over fear. And when the world finally notices, you don't even need their applause anymore. Because by then, you've already won internally. That's the victory no one can take away. It doesn't show in trophies or titles, but in who you've become. I became someone I respect, someone I'm proud of, and that matters more than anything else. I now face challenges with calm instead of panic. I face criticism with reflection instead of reaction. I face the unknown with curiosity instead of fear. That's the transformation. The world may still push against me, but I no longer push back with anger. I push forward with purpose. And that's the difference. Winning, even when the world is against you, is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were right to keep going, right to believe, right to try again. So, if you're in a place right now where everything feels stacked against you, remember this. You don't need perfect conditions to rise. You just need the decision. Decide to win. Decide to grow. Decide to become. And don't stop. Because if you don't quit, you win. That's the truth. That's how you win even when the world is against you. If this story lit even a small fire in you, then that's your sign. You were built to rise. The world might doubt you, ignore you, or even try to break you, but your strength isn't in what they say. It's in what you do next. So what will you do now? Keep playing small, or start showing up like the winner you already are? If you felt something today, drop a comment and tell me how you're choosing to fight back. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. Because the world might be against you, but we're not. We're in this together.